Hey everyone, Shnickerman here, back with another video. Today we're going to have a video about Digimon Mini Figures. We're going to talk about how to identify them, how rare or uncommon they might be, and maybe even some prices associated with it. I really wanted to create a comprehensive guide for these minifigures because when I started getting into them, I realized there wasn't any information. And fans of my channel might know I like to get into different things that don't have a lot of information and put the information out there. So this is a good guide if you're just getting into collecting Digimon minifigures, or maybe you found a lot of them from a thrift store and you're just trying to identify which Digimon they are and perhaps what their value might be if you wanted to resell them. So first things first, I did a lot of research as I was assembling my collection of Digimon minifigures. I'll show off my collection at the end of this video, and I can show you just the huge diversity of Digimon minifigures that they have, and there are hundreds of different Digimon. So the first thing you want to know about your Digimon figures is, are the figures that you have one of the main protagonists of the series? So for example, from the original Digimon Adventure, do you have Agumon? Do you have Gabumon, Garurumon? For later seasons, do you have Guilmon? Do you have Vmon? Do you have Magnamon? These are all Digimon that are very popular. For the most part, the more popular the Digimon, the faster it's going to sell. Sometimes the price can be higher. In the late 90s and early 2000s, there were many different toy lines. When these toys were introduced, they came in packs of different Digimon. So what they did is they called them sets. So there was set 1 through maybe 40 or so of different Digimon figures, and the first figures release all coincided to Digimon from Digimon Adventure 1, and then as the series progressed, they followed the next season of the Digimon show. For the most part, the Digimon that appear in those series follow the show at the time, with some exceptions. As far as identifying these figures, some people do care about what season they're from. If you look at the back of the Digimon usually, or even on the feet, you can see an engraved year and sometimes also the word Bandai. So on this one, for example, it has copyright B97, so 1997, and then China underneath. And depending on the series of Digimon figure, this might appear in different locations. I also wanted to say that I have a Medium article, which I'll have a link for, which covers all of the information that I'm about to say here. So if there's anything you want to look back on, be sure to check out that article. I've also created a list that has every single set of Digimon figures released for the most part, which Digimon are in them, and I also created a list that talks about how common these Digimon figures are and which ones might go for the most. One of the first things I want to talk about for this video is it's very easy to identify the first series of these. You can see that the figures are large, they're colorful, they're painted pretty well. They all kind of have this same bulky style. There are a good amount of Digimon from the first series, and for the most part, all of the first series Digimon are the easiest to find, and they don't have as high value as some others. There are exceptions. For example, Metal Greymon is up there, and Devimon as well, and Leomon. They're harder to find and have a little bit higher of a price. But I want to note one thing, that when you go to the later series, for example, Series 2, following the second Digimon series, Digimon Adventure 2, and the third series, Digimon Tamers, the figures themselves became smaller. You'll kind of see that they became a little bit shinier and a little bit more detailed in general. So here, for example, from Series 2, we have a Pegasusmon, and if you want to find out the details of it, you can actually look underneath the wing, and the words are written right here, like I said. You have written copyright H.T00, meaning 2000, Bandai, and made in China. So these are a bit smaller if you want to compare to the originals. You can see it's a little bit smaller, thinner, different type of plastic completely. Then as you go to Series 3, it's probably the most well done as far as paint applications and the actual sculpting of the figures. Here's one of my favorites. You have this Beelzemon BM. A lot of detail for just this 1 to 2 inch figure. And then here you have another one. Here you have Gargomon from the third series of anime. And underneath, if you want to find the details about it, you can look under the feet is actually a really good spot. It's usually on the back, on a wing. Once you get to the fourth season of Digimon figures, you start to see a decrease in quality. They started using less plastic, cheaper paints, etc. So like here's an example. They re-released Metal Greymon, but look at the difference in the paint, less shiny, cheaper looking paint. Here you have a bigger figure, more detail. So you can see overall it's changed a lot. And this figure says the year 1997 on it, and this one's from 2001. So from 97 to 2001, Series 1 to Series 4, you can see a huge difference. So to really demonstrate the size difference that I'm talking about in these figures over time, here's an example. You have an in-training Digimon. Then you have this in-training Digimon from Series 4. Series 2, Series 4. Look at the size difference. These should be about the same size. I think this one is even a little bit larger. So you can see they were really cheaping out on the amount of plastic. And for Series 4, the in-trainings were really small, but some of the actual bigger figures were still a decent size. So they kind of had to, based off the price, probably make some smaller than others. And if they had a big figure in the set, they would also have to have a really small one. Another thing about these figures to be aware of is that with Digimon, there's different evolutions. So for example, you have an in-training Digimon. Here you have a Demi-Vmon figure. Then you have the rookie of the same type. You have a normal Vmon. So he gets a little bit bigger. So they played around with different size scales. Then you have a champion X Vmon, a little bit bigger than your Vmon itself. So you will see that the size of these figures can vary. A lot of people mention this is a 1.5 inch series, but some are substantially smaller than 1.5 inches, and some can even be larger than 1.5 inches. Once you figure out the Digimon that you have, and whether it's a main character or not, you can even figure out which set it originally came from. And for the most part, the first sets that were released are the easier ones to find. I'll say from the first anime, the figures are very common, but there's a lot of the main figures. Season 2, same kind of thing. Season 3, etc. Once you hit Season 4 and into Data Squad in Season 5, the figures become a lot more uncommon. And some from Season 4 are extremely hard to find, so when they do show up, these tiny little figures can go from $40 to $60 a piece. It just really depends on the Digimon. There are a lot of knockoffs out there as well, so please be careful for that. This one has better paint applications, more color, more detail, and this one is washed out. And just be on the lookout for them. The paint itself is a little bit more matte. You'll see the proportions can sometimes be off. They look smush. Something about it just doesn't look good. Be on the lookout for fake Digimon figures. And now, as far as rarity goes, it's kind of difficult, especially at this point, to know how common or uncommon these figures are. I personally don't have access to how many of each set was released, but like I said, it seems to be the figures in the later releases, we're talking sets in the 30s and 40s, got a lot more difficult to find, especially in good condition and especially for more popular Digimon. I'll have a list in the description to this video that will kind of talk about rough rarities based off, I've been looking on eBay for about half a year or so to fill out my collection. So I know that most of the Digimon that aren't in my collection are more uncommon because that's why I don't have them yet. So I'll put a ranking list from 1 being the most common and 10 being the rarest. And note, as with most things, just because something is more rare doesn't necessarily mean it's more valuable. If something is rare and a character that people like, it's going to be the most expensive. But if something's rare and a more obscure character, the price won't necessarily reflect that being rare. You can also have really common figures that are loved characters that will have a high price. For example, Beelzemon BM is a fairly common figure, you can find it, but the price is high because it's one of people's all-time favorite Digimon. Then you have a lot of in-training Digimon which released in Series 4, which are hard to find, but the prices aren't necessarily that high because people aren't as attached to those Digimon. Now, in Series 4 and Series 5, they started doing this thing where they have this random mystery figure, and what those are basically, there's a few of the token Digimon from each series, so it would be from Digimon Frontier and Digimon Data Squad that they've chosen that you can get in random, and they're gold and silver versions of those figures. Some people like to collect these, but I've found overall the price Even though the figures might be more rare in a gold or silver version, prices don't really reflect any desire for people to collect them. I know even in my own collection, I don't really want to collect the silver or gold figures. I'm more interested in getting all of the main coloration versions. But it's something to keep in mind if you find a silver or gold version. And I have those in my list of all the Digimon figures as well, which is in the link below.
I wanted to show off my collection, so if you see here on the left-hand side, we have all the in-training 1 and 2 Digimon. Slowly pan over and you start seeing the rookie Digimon. I'm still missing a good amount, but I have about 200 total unique figures. Start going up to the champions. You can see this is the first row of champions. I got them kind of in a few different rows. There's some war champions right there. I'm going to try to get in a good position so you can see more. Then we start going up to the ultimates, where the Digimon start getting a bit cooler. And then I basically ran out of room, so up here we have just tons of different ones. I'll try to give different angles so you guys can see everything. There's a lot of harder to find Digimon, Magna Gururumon, that Weregururumon, Antilomon, Black Wargreymon, both Beelzemons, Machine Dramon, Fallen Down Mega Gargamon. But yeah, and then I also have this statue, but this is my collection. I have about 200 figures with more on the way. And I just wanted to show you that these are really, really fun to collect and learn about. There's so many of them, and collecting is just part of the fun of it all.
So I want to hear more. If you guys know anything about Digimon figures that I haven't talked about, please let me know in the comments. There are also certain Digimon that I haven't found yet. In the list of all the Digimon figures, I've noted which ones I have. If you happen to have one that I don't have and you want to work something out, please contact me through YouTube or any of my other social media platforms, and I would be happy to try to work out a deal. I'm really trying to get all of the base set, and if you can help me do so, I would greatly appreciate that. If this video has been useful to you in any way, like maybe you found some Digimon figures and you searched on YouTube because you didn't know anything about them and you wanted to resell them, please leave a like on this video and share it around to people that you think might also think it's useful. It really helps the channel a lot. We're steadily approaching that 1,000 subscriber mark that I really want to hit, and so if you like the video, please let me know, show some support. I really appreciate you guys watching. Until the next video, peace out.